webinar organized by the University, Senfotech University. It is a great pleasure for us to have such a tremendous character here today to talk to us about his book and his work and how we are aimed to win in the digital age. It is again with great pleasure for for Senfotech University to have everybody joining us in our media channels. And again, it is a great pleasure to have Nitin Seth here with us. Welcome, Nitin.
Hello, Stephen. Very happy to be here.
And we're very happy to have you here too. We're gonna get it started by reading Nitin bio, and then after that, we will give him the stage so he can share all his experience about digital transformation and about everything he has been part of in this new world that we're shaping. So it is for me a great pleasure to introduce you formally to Nitin Seth. He is an accomplished industry leader with a unique combination of experiences of an entrepreneur, management consultant, and a senior executive. As the chief executive officer at Incido, Nitin is responsible for the definition and execution of Incido's strategy, creating and implementing on the company's vision and mission, and shaping a unique, effective organization culture. He is currently leading an organization-wide transformation to realize the company's goal of becoming a world-class technology solutions firm that delivers exceptional client value, has distinctive capabilities, and it is an inspirational workplace for the best minds. Nitin has led organizations and achieved significant impact by raising the trajectory of their businesses, driving from strategy to execution, championing innovation, building high performance teams, coaching and inspiring leaders, and most importantly, leading with passion and integrity. Prior to Incido, Nitin was the Chief Operation Officer of Flipkart, where he was responsible for customer and supply chain operations, strategy to execution capabilities, and corporate functions for the company. He has also headed Fidelity International as the MD and country head for India. Prior to Fidelity, Nitin was the director of McKinsey Global Knowledge Center in India, and Nitin was a well-known and respected leader of the IT BPO sector and analytics industry. He has been elected twice to the NASCOM Executive Council and was also the chairperson of the NASCOM Regional Council in Haryana, if I pronounced that correctly. He is an avid speaker in the areas of entrepreneurship, business transformation, and technology. He holds an MBA with a major in finance and operations from the Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and a degree in engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi. This is the bio of Nitin Seth. As I was mentioning before, it is a great honor for the university to have him here. I personally feel very excited about everything that he has to share, and I also found it very interesting that we were part of the same firm in the past, and that we have moved on towards continue pushing for impact. And I just think it is a privilege to introduce Nitin and to listen to everything he has to say. So we invite everyone who joined us in our social media to please feel free to interact, to ask with questions that we will definitely address. And once Nitin has shared some of his insights about again his book and digital transformation in this new era. So welcome, Nitin. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for such a warm welcome and a warm introduction. I wish my mother and my wife were here to hear, your, such a nice introduction. So, very happy to talk to Sinfotech University. I was very excited to learn about the university and that you have a focus on technology. This is a technology focused industry, and it is a area of a lot of passion for me. I'm involved actually in setting up a university in India, which is technology focused. So, this this topic is very close to my heart. So, if it is okay, Stephen, I will share a presentation. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Mhm.
okay. Just give me a second. I should do share screen, right, or the video file.
Yes. Let us know if you don't see the share screen.
Yeah, no. I'm not able to see the share screen. Yeah. I can only see this. Okay. I think now. I don't see the tabs that I can click on, Steven, because I can only see the.
There
Okay.
are a few. I don't know if you can see a few buttons on.
I can see the entire screen. Okay,
Okay,
now I get it. Now I get it.
right.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes. Thank you.
But it's still, I can see it as only a small screen. Can you see it as a full screen? Is it?
Yeah, we can just move it to the. Yeah, we can move it to the front.
Okay. And
Mhm.
how do I move the screen, Steven?
1 second, please. Let me have.
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah, just
Still
go
there is
ahead.
a.
Yeah, just go ahead. We will put it in presentation mode, please, and then we will be
How do I put it in presentation mode?
in the PowerPoint. Click on the button below the
No,
screen.
no,
There.
no. That of course I know. Is this?
It shows us at a pretty decent site, actually.
Can you see it now?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Apologies for that little bit of that times. Okay, so the topic I wanted to speak to you about today, friends, is winning in the digital age, and aren't we all living in the digital age? And if you were to describe, the age we are in, the digital age is probably the most defining uh, aspect of of the times we are living in. If you look at how we live our lives, how we consume various products and services, it is all very digital, isn't it? That shopping probably means going to Amazon, seeing a movie is now about going to Netflix or to Amazon Prime. So a lot of our lives is now lived in the digital world. Social media. I'm pretty sure everybody here has one or multiple social media accounts. How we absorb news. Very few people today are reading physical newspapers. Twitter has probably become the most widely used news source now across the world. So we are certainly in a digital world, and all enterprises and companies across all industries are going through this process of going digital or digital transformation. There is not even a single industry that I know of which you can say is not touched by digital. Yeah. Now it may the level of maturity of the industry in terms of digital transformation may vary, but every industry is going through digital transformation, and hundreds of billions of dollars across the world are being spent on digital transformation. These are big numbers. Yeah. So if you look at the numbers projections over the next 3 years, $6 to $7 trillion are to be spent globally over the next 3 years alone on digital. Yeah, that's a very, very, very big number. So it's an amazing opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. This is the opportunity of our times. Yeah, and all of you as technology students need to not just be aware of it, but to take benefit of this opportunity. But there is a however here. The however here is that while hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars are being spent on digital transformation, the reality is that at least 70% of digital transformation initiatives do not achieve their full impact. And that's a very, very big number. 70% of the digital transformation initiatives do not achieve their full impact. And that is precisely the reason why I wrote this book, Winning in the Digital Age, and also what I want to talk to you a little bit, that hey, digital is such a huge opportunity, but today this is a huge opportunity, but such a big gap between the opportunity and what is being realized today. And if we can improve that percentage, that instead of 70% failure or 30% success, if you were to get to 50-60% success, that will be a huge thing. Yeah. So that really is the focus of my book and what I want to share with you. Okay. Now, just to kind of get us going, that what is this digital age? Yeah, and often this is known as the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, fourth industrial revolution. And what is really happening in the digital age is that a lot of technologies that were already in process, were already had been there, they are coming together, they are converging. So digital age is really about the fusion of technologies. Yeah, that is the key thing that is happening in the digital age, and the pace of change has got really accelerated. Yeah. So when we talk about the fusion of technologies, what are some of these main technologies that are coming together? There are many things that are happening, but four that I would like to talk about. The first is the number of devices. So the number of devices globally is exploding. A few years back, we had 5 billion devices. Now we have 25 billion devices globally. That's a massive number. Yeah, it is an order of magnitude higher than the entire global population. Yeah, and just in a few years, another 5 years, this number of devices is going to double. Yeah, so number of devices. The second is data. The volume, velocity, variety of data is exploding. So data is the second big thing that is happening. Third is storage capacity. And we know that, all of us know that, the storage capacity is continuing to explode. And the fourth is the computing capacity. The computing capacity is exploding. So all of these things are combining to create the digital age. Yeah. Now, what is happening in the digital age is that there is no middle ground. Yeah. See, as engineering students, as technology students, as students of science, we know about the normal distribution curve, isn't it? That a big cluster in the middle. Now, the digital age is anything but like that. You either win big or you lose big. There is no middle ground. In fact, the biggest risk in the digital age is not taking risks. Yeah. So you look at the winners. So companies like Apple and Amazon are now, their market valuation is over $2 trillion. $2 trillion is equal to the GDP of a large country like India. So Apple and Amazon alone individually are among the largest countries in the world. Yeah? They are they are much bigger than most countries on earth. Yeah, so that just gives you a sense. You look at a relatively young company like Tesla. Tesla's market valuation is more than that of the top 10 automobile manufacturers combined. Yeah. So clearly in the digital age, there is an opportunity of creating very, very large businesses, very successful businesses rather quickly. At the same time, it's also very easy to lose. Yeah, you look at, we talked about Apple and you look at Nokia. 10, 15 years back, nobody could have imagined, that Nokia would not be a dominant player. 15 years back, you know, for me, a mobile phone meant Nokia. That was, and I think the first 7, 8 mobile phones I owned in my life were all Nokia. But the company has not pretty much disappeared from the mobile space. Or you look at retail in the US, Sears. Sears came out, defined the retail revolution in the US, but they are now pretty much on the last legs. So that's a very important thing that we are seeing in this digital age, that either you win big or you really lose in a pretty dramatic way. Yeah. So there is no option but to play this game aggressively. Yeah. And what has happened is that over COVID, the last year and a half of COVID, the digital transformation has only accelerated. Yeah. So many of my clients who are some of the largest companies in the world, the Fortune 100 companies, the big banks, telecom companies, what I see there is that the digital transformation targets they had for 3 to 5 years, they have now achieved it over 1 year, simply because of the remote working in COVID. And because of that, what has happened is that there are players who have zoomed up, and Zoom, a video conferencing platform, is a good example of that. And there are equally players who have gone down. Yeah. So far we have established that digital is very important. You win big or you lose big. Yeah. So clearly, you want to be on the winning side. But it is important to also investigate that why are companies, very big companies, well-run companies, finding it so difficult to deal with digital transformation? Why is that? Now, companies like Nokia and Sears, these are well-run companies, competent CEOs, management teams, boards, advisors, consultants like McKinsey. So what is happening? My experience of being in this digital space for the last 20, 25 years, it suggests that the fundamentals of digital age are very different, and therefore you need a very different approach. Yeah, you need to get to the root of the issue. Most companies are seeing problems and trying to address problems or trying to address opportunities without understanding deeply, without understanding at a root level what is different. Yeah, so let's investigate that. Now, the best way I have seen to describe the essence of the digital age is this concept called VUCA. VUCA. Yeah, VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Volatile is something which is moving very fast, very randomly. And if you have seen a stock market ticker, how a stock market ticker moves, that's volatile. Yeah, uncertain. You don't know the outcome. You don't know what is going to happen. Yeah, complex. The cause-effect relationships are very difficult to establish. Yeah, complex. And ambiguous. Reality is hazy. It's like a glass mirror which is covered with dust. It's not easy to see your image clearly. Yeah. So the digital age is VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And if you understand this concept, then you will be able to understand the digital age and the opportunities and challenges better. Yeah. Now let's take it to a next level. Yeah, at a more specific level, there are 6 key shifts in the digital age which I want to share with you. The first is customer. The customer in the digital age is a lot more demanding. Their expectations of experience and service are very high. Whatever may be the industry, and I would also say whatever may be the geography, the customer expectations are now defined by Amazon and Netflix. Yeah. So the customer expectations are very high. They have a lot of choice now. So there is very little loyalty. There's a lot of switching behavior. Yeah. So customer was always king, and now the customer is God. The second big shift is on technology. That historically, technology has been a support function, and then technology started becoming an enabler. Yeah. And technology now is in the digital age is driving the business. So historically, you've had the business strategy, and then you come to the technology strategy, and now it's reversed. You have the technology which is driving the business strategy. Very big shift, especially for industries which have not been very tech savvy. Yeah. The third is velocity, which is the speed of everything. Yeah. So in business, you have business cycles. Business goes up, comes down, goes back up. In industries, it has been 20 years or 30 years, that you have a certain cycle. Whatever may be the industry, but these business cycles are becoming shorter. If there was a business cycle which was 20, 25 years, it is now maybe 10 years. Yeah. So the velocity of everything is becoming very, very fast. Yeah. The fourth big shift is around data. I already mentioned this, that the volume, velocity, variety of data is exploding. And it is bringing a lot of shift in how you approach business. Yeah. So for example, marketing. Now, one of the very fundamental concepts of marketing is segmentation, that you segment your customers. But with data, the way you think about segments is very different. So I'll give you an example. So, at Sincero, we work with one of the largest telecom companies in the world. And I was talking to the head of data science of this very large telecom company. And I asked him, what is your segmentation strategy? And he said, we have 130 million segments. And initially, I was a little surprised, but then I understood what he's saying. They have 130 million customers. Yeah. Now, each customer they can identify specifically and on a real-time basis, dynamically, and also change the experience for the individual customer on a real-time basis. Yeah. So when data allows you to do that, there is no need for segmentation, because you can now reach out to each customer specifically. It's a paradigm shift. It's a very big shift. The fifth concept is about iterative. Yeah. It's a little bit of a complex concept, but very important. So in business, traditionally we have gone through this linear or sequential process that you analyze the situation of the market, you make a strategy, you make a plan, and you execute. But in the digital world, it does not work like that, because the digital world is very dynamic. It is changing very, very rapidly. Yeah, it is changing very rapidly. So what it is more, instead of a straight line, it is like a circle. You do something works, something doesn't work. It is like and you look at what works, what doesn't work, you learn from it, and you change what you're doing. It's like a wheel. It is moving in a circle, but moving forward. Iterative, very big implication for the way we do business. And finally, interdisciplinary. Now, the main axis which drives digital is the customer, the first thing that we talked about. Now, for a customer, the problems are not functional problems. They're not sales problem or product problems or manufacturing problems. For them, it's problems. Yeah. And in the digital world, you need an interdisciplinary approach, and which is where a lot of legacy companies really struggle. Yeah. If I look at one big difference between the digital natives like Google and Facebook and Amazon and the more traditional companies, it is this, how they are organized. Because the younger companies, the newer companies tend to be organized in interdisciplinary or cross-functional teams, whereas the legacy companies tend to have a lot more of a functional structure. Yeah. So this is a very important slide. I really want you to take this away, that the concept of VUCA and the 6 big shifts. Yeah. Now, once you get your head around it, now let us come to, okay, how you approach digital or how you approach digital transformation. Now, I think you will be getting a sense from already the conversation we have had that digital is it's a very vast and complex topic. Yeah, it's a very vast and complex topic. So what happens is that people end up looking at specific aspects of it and they assume this is the entire picture. You may have heard the story of the 6 blind men, with this elephant in the room. Somebody looks at the trunk, somebody looks at the tail, somebody looks at the leg, and they believe this is it, but they're not really seeing the full elephant. It's a bit like that in digital. Yeah. So therefore, I have tried to define these 7 building blocks in my book, which is a good way of thinking about digital transformation, all the things we need to do. So the rule number 1 is new rules of business, some of the fundamental shifts that need to happen. The rule number 2 is, or the building block number 2 is around industry maturity curves, that at the industry level, what are some shifts that are happening? The industry you're in, you need to understand what is changing there. Yeah. And you therefore try to be a part of it, and if possible to ship it. The third is digital technology, something which I would think that a lot of you would have a perspective on. It's a very important building block, but I think it is important to recognize that technology is only one aspect of this entire digital puzzle. Yeah. And if we, as technologists, approach this only as a technology problem, we will fail. Yeah, or at least we will not realize the full potential of technology. This is a very, very important point I want you to understand. And when I was having a conversation with Stephen and your other colleagues at the university last week, this is the point I was trying to make, that that digital is not just about technology. Yeah. And it is important that technologists understand that. The fourth building block is about global. Digital by its very nature cannot be local. Yeah, it cannot be local. It has to be, the moment you set up a website or an app, it is global. Yeah, so you have to really think about a global business model. Number 5, organization transformation. Yeah, organization transformation. That to realize the benefits of digital or digital transformation, the organization needs to transform in many, many ways. Yeah. And this is a very important building block. If I were to draw these 7 building blocks at scale, then this number 5, organization transformation, will perhaps be the largest one. Yeah. Now, the blocks that I've talked about so far have been from an enterprise perspective. Yeah. Now, the next 2 blocks are more from an individual perspective, leadership. Yeah, the model of leadership needs to change. You need more entrepreneurial leaders. Yeah, who are creators, who are not just managers but who are creators. Yeah, and finally, the next generation talent. All of you, there is a great opportunity that digital presents to everybody. Yeah. But at the same time, there are very different set of expectations from talent in the digital age, and one needs to be aware of it. Yeah. So these are the 7 building blocks, for digital, and this is what I talk about in the book. But let me pause here. Let me, Stephen, maybe stop sharing for a little while and see, what kind of questions have come up, and I'd love to because I don't want it to be just a monologue. I want to listen to the questions that have come up, and try to answer them.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you for sharing all of that. Very interesting and very deep in terms of the different areas that we need to cover in this new digital age. I saw two questions on on the screen. Okay, there's one right there in English. There are plenty of technologies that you refer to into your presentation. Do you suggest a specialization in any one or learn a broad set of skills? Broadly, how do you approach building in our careers?
No, that's a great question. The approach that I would recommend to building skills, and Stephen, you may remember this from your time in McKinsey, is what I call the T-shaped approach. Yeah. So I think at this early stage of your career, it is important to build a broad set of skills to begin with. Yeah. And then specialize, maybe in pick up one or two areas of specialization. Yeah. That you're still very early stages of your career, and you are in a world which is changing very dynamically. Yeah, changing very dynamically. So there is a lot to be said about getting a broad set of experiences to begin with. Yeah. uh, that is for yourself. Yeah. So, but to add value to a company that you join, you need depth. Yeah. So you need both the breadth and the depth at the same time. So the shape T, the letter T, I think is a good way of thinking about it.
Awesome. All right, I see another one already projected. Is there anything we need to do differently or anything we should keep in mind as we create solutions that are relevant for the global market, given most of our background is in Costa Rica?
See, this is again a fantastic question. I'm really pleased to see this question. See, first thing I would say is that you have to start with a conviction and a confidence that you can do it. Yeah. And the one country that I would share with you as a very, very outstanding positive example of that is Israel. Yeah.
Mm.
So if you look at globally, the product and the solution space, US, driven by Silicon Valley, continues to be the leader. um, China is coming up very, very fast in many ways. India is also making progress, but one of the most striking success stories is Israel. Yeah, it's a very small country. Yeah, has a lot of very significant set of political, geopolitical problems, but they have built an absolutely world-class industry. Yeah, and so it can absolutely be done. It can absolutely be done. Now, the way you approach solutions, there are two kind of main axes of it. The more common axis is from a deep understanding of the customer pain points. Yeah, a deep understanding of the customer pain points. And the second axis is through technology. That your solution is not what is often called a front end solution, but is more of a back end solution, which is coming as part of the technology stack. So if you look at Israel, a lot of those solutions are more technology driven, and then there are some particular verticals like security, where they almost have a dominant position, or a very, very strong position. Yeah. So I think that is maybe something to think about. That are there areas of technology, which Costa Rica can look to specialize in. Yeah. So if you look at China as an example, yeah. So China has certainly been a bit behind in the technology game, because US was certainly ahead from a product technology innovation perspective, and then this big global IT services market that happened. India captured a very large part of it. Yeah. So China saw that it was behind in the game. So how do they play? They have tended to focus very deeply on artificial intelligence. Yeah. So the kind of focus China has put on AI is tremendous. Yeah. And in some ways, maybe they are now ahead of United States as far as AI is concerned. Yeah. So it has been a very sharp focus. So that is something that Costa Rica should think about. That are there some areas it specializes in where it can leapfrog, but it cannot be done in isolation. This is something which requires a coordinated effort at the industry level and also involving the government.
Right. I'd like to expand a little bit more on that, specifically for regions like Costa Rica. But before that, I see another question. You mentioned we need to play this game aggressively. What are some recommendations to play in a VUCA time, as you call it, in small markets like the one in Costa Rica?
Yeah, there are many things that can be talked about, but one of my the biggest message that I would like to give, um, and which is I think true for most developing markets. I come from a developing country like India, that is entrepreneurship. That I think everybody here, every student of the university should be looking to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. See, the digital age is the age of abundance. Yeah. See, we saw through some of the examples that being large does not mean that you have any assurance of success. Yeah. In fact, for large companies, sometimes it is very difficult to change. Yeah. And we see in the digital age that young startups, what I call the digital natives, are often able to, attack the large companies and win. The entry barriers in the digital age are relatively low. I think that's a phenomenal opportunity. That's a phenomenal opportunity for entrepreneurs, and they should, and I think that would be my encouragement. That unleashing a wave of entrepreneurship is probably a great thing that can happen in a country like Costa Rica, and it is built for Costa Rica, but absolutely look to export, absolutely look to play the global game. There is, see, a point that I made earlier, one of the building blocks I talked about, that digital by its very design is global. Yeah. I think it's a question of confidence. It's a question of confidence that can you play that global game? And I see no reason. I think Costa Rica, as per my understanding, it has a very it is culturally very has that very good balance of the Latin American kind of roots, but also aligned with an American culture. English is widely spoken. So I think there are a lot of the this has got a great education system. So I think a lot of the foundations are there, and I see no reason why Costa Rica cannot become a global product and services player.
Right. Absolutely. And thank you for that, answer with the piece of encouragement that I see behind that, because we have been able as a country to move from the agro industry to the service industry to the digital industry in 3 decades, right? And so that is for me a good background of how we can evolve in this global competition, or in this global effort to develop. It's better say instead of competition, but it is certain that there is a need, as you mentioned, also to play this game not only with confidence but also in a coordinated effort. So in that sense, I personally received this other question of who should start, in this coordination effort to execute innovation as the key for advancing in the digital age. Is it the academia? Is it the private sector? Is it the government? And is it, if it is the government, at what level should be done? And for me, that reminds me of something that we actually used to say when we were talking about digital transformation at the firm, which is we need to get the IT department out of the IT department, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And and move it into the uh, across the organization. So in that sense, that's another question I got there. If you
Yes,
want
it's a
to,
very important question, and it's something I have quite a bit of experience in, Stephen, my involvement with the industry in India. So, how do you see developing the IT industry? Is you have to develop the ecosystem. Yeah, you have to develop ecosystem. You have to develop the ecosystem includes investors or people who will provide capital. You need role models. You need mentors. You need many different type of players. So how do you really get that ecosystem going? There are three different models of doing that. The model in India was very much about the industry coming together. Yeah, because in India, clearly the government, the best thing that happened for the IT industry in India, and the reason India has been able to grow so much in IT is because government did not understand IT, and there was nothing to be taxed, right? There was no big capital, so there was nothing to be taxed, so they never understood it. And I think that's the best thing that happened to the IT industry. So what happened was that all the big companies came together and formed this industry body called NASSCOM, which really drove this industry, which they pooled resources, they shared learnings, they really worked together while they competed for clients. But they worked together in a very, very collaborative fashion. Amazing. I just find it so impressive, how that collaboration happened, and I think it was a very big driver of the success that happened in India. If I look at United States, there's a very, very amazing ecosystem. You look at Silicon Valley, the ecosystem is great. In United States, the academia, the universities have played a very, very critical role. Yeah. So, whether it's the Berkeley's or Stanford or MIT, they have been the nurseries, which have really kind of really spurred the innovation. Yeah, because they have been the laboratories for innovation, and there has been a very, very active partnership between academia and the industry in the United States, and I think that has been a very, very big source of the innovation success here. If you look at a third model, the model in China is very government driven. Yeah, it is the government which has invested a lot of that investment in AI as an example. Yeah, so there are different models. But I think the model of the industry really collaborating together, to me, is the most actionable one that I see.
fantastic. It is so. I've seen in the country how this collaboration effort definitely give us a lot of insights and a lot of opportunities to learn from each other and to adapt what the private sector has done well that the public sector can use, and how the all of the research and investigation we do at the academia can be actually put into use when we have these type of ecosystems of collaboration. I see another question on the screen. Can you expand or elaborate, I guess, on the new rules of this of the business factor you talked about?
Excellent, excellent. Maybe this is a good time for me to maybe go back to the presentation a little bit, and I would like to, maybe share that. I think it's a very important point. Yeah. So, okay. Can you see my screen now? Back to my screen.
No yet.
You can see
Now,
now?
yes, I can see it now.
Okay. So let me cover a couple of points. So let me talk about the new rules of business. Yeah. Then I'll also talk a little bit about some of the shifts at the industry level, and I'll also talk about digital technology. So I want to present these three slides in the next 10, 15 minutes. So uh, 8 new rules of business. The first rule is around innovating and shape the future. Now, typically, the way you look at your growth plans is you look at what you did last year, what is happening in the market, and you then say, okay, last year I grew by 10%, market is probably growing at 12%. Oh, let me try to do 15% this year. Yeah, very typical mindset. But in this digital age, the markets are changing very rapidly. Yeah, so either the markets are growing dramatically, they're growing 40, 50, 100%, or they're collapsing. Yeah. So the only way you can really succeed is that if you're the one who's shaping the market. Yeah, you are the one shaping the market. You can't be an order taker. You can't be a taker of the market. You have to shape the market. And how will you shape the market? You can only shape the market through innovation. Yeah. So innovation is not just nice to do. That is to me the first rule. It is only through innovation that you can succeed in this digital age. Now, what happens is that when you innovate, you may also end up cannibalizing on your existing business. Yeah. And that is a very big fear that large companies have, that they don't want to take that risk. And in this digital age, you have to do that. It is much better to cannibalize yourself than somebody else doing it. Yeah. The second rule is around strategy, and I'm very fond of strategy. I've been doing that for over 25 years. Now, the way you approach strategy has completely changed. Yeah. So historically, the way you would do strategies, you would do a market assessment, corporate strategy, business unit strategy, and then you do a functional strategy. Marketing, sales, so on and so forth. You convert that into an annual plan, and then you track it. Completely wrong. Completely wrong in the digital age. The best laid out plans, strategic plans, do not survive contact with reality in this VUCA world. Yeah, they do not survive contact with reality. Yeah, in fact, they can be a limitation. Yeah, they can be. So Muhammad Ali, the famous boxer, had this very nice quote that everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. Yeah, and in this VUCA world, you're getting punched in the face all the time. Yeah, so the approach to strategy and execution has changed. Yeah. So what is really important in this digital age is execute. So you need to have a light strategy, an agile strategy. And then from that, you say, okay, this is what I need to execute. You execute. Some things will work, many things will not work. Yeah, so you need to have a very high tolerance to failure in the digital age, because failure will happen. But what works, you do more of. What doesn't work, you kill, and you kill quickly, and you connect the dots, and that is strategy. Yeah. So from strategy to execution, strategy, execution, back to strategy, it has become more of a circular process. Rule number 3 is about co-creating with customers. Yeah. Now, there has always been this boundary between customer and provider. Yeah. You have a contract, you have some walls. But you recall, one of the key things in the digital age is moving with speed. Now, if you have to move with speed, you cannot have these walls with your customers. The only way you can truly move with speed is to co-create with customers. So the way my teams now work, the whole boundaries between customer and us is completely gone. Yeah, that's a very different level of transparency. It's a very different working model, and it requires a very, very high level of trust. Yeah, every company has to be a technology company. Rule number 4: easier said than done. It's easy to say this, but really developing a technology DNA does not happen easily. It is, again, not just about hiring some smart technologist or investing in some technology. Your culture as a company needs to change. So very big shift. Rule number 5 is simplify the organization structure and processes. Yeah. Now, again, moving with speed. And one of the very big organization issue that organizations have is that the processes are long, they are complex, there are too many controls built into the processes. And these complex processes end up meaning that your organizational structure is very complex. So this has to be simplified dramatically so that you can move with speed. Rule number 6, build a learning organization. Yeah, very important point that in this digital age, no one organization and certainly no one individual knows it all. Yeah, there is too much out there. So you have to be constantly learning. Yeah, you have to be constantly learning. There was a question also about what technology skills to focus on. Whatever technology you learn is going to get obsolete in a short period of time. Yeah. So even if you learn 10 technologies, it doesn't mean that they will not become obsolete. What you need to do is to build that capability to continue learning on an ongoing basis. So continuous learning. Yeah. Rule number 7, build an open organization and a web of partnerships. Again, it is building from the previous point. No one organization can do it alone. No organization can do it alone. You have to build partnerships. Even Google and whichever Amazon, they have to build partnerships. Yeah. And the nature of partnerships has also become more dynamic, become more complex. A partner can very quickly become a competitor, and a competitor can also become a partner. Yeah. It has become very dynamic, very situational, and this is the era of competition and collaboration at the same time. Yeah. And finally, rule number 8, foster an entrepreneurial culture. Yeah. So this is really a shift from what has been called managers to leaders. Yeah. The era of managers is gone. Yeah. And this is now the time for entrepreneurial leaders. Okay. So again, I'm rushing through this very quickly. Of course, in my book, I talk about this in a lot of detail. These are the 8 new rules of business. Now, I also want to cover 2 more points before I pause. It is on what are some of the shifts happening at the industry level. Now, of course, in specific industries, there are specific set of changes that are happening. But there are a number of shifts which are happening in this digital age across industries. Yeah. So the first is the rising customer expectations, which I've talked about earlier as well. Now, what is happening because of that is that the industry value chains are changing. They are disintermediating. Yeah. So typically in business, you have these B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer, or you have B2B2C or B2B to B2C. These are the kind of chains which are there. Irrespective of the industry, the B2C model is becoming more and more prominent. Yeah. So that's again, thinking about entrepreneurial ideas, this disintermediation of value chains is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Yeah. A third thing that is happening is that the boundaries across industries are blurring. Yeah. The definition of industries is blurring. So for example, I do a lot of work in the telecom industry. But the boundaries between a telecom company and a media company are completely blurred. Yeah. So it's very difficult to say what the boundaries are. Shift number 4, new competitors emerging. Yeah. That whatever may be the industry, you have new tech-enabled competitors who are coming in. And, I hit that point that for a Citibank today, the biggest competitive threat is not JP Morgan. Yeah, they know them very well. Citibank, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they all know each other extremely well. They have been competing for the last 50 plus years. They are maybe worried a little bit about the fintechs. Yeah, but even fintechs, they know the fintechs because the fintechs have been around for 10 years. They are perhaps most worried about the likes of Amazon, Apple, Google becoming a competitor to them. So new competitors are emerging and they're often coming from very unexpected sources. Yeah. The shift number 5 is the product proliferation, the shrinking life cycles. Yeah. That again, we talked about the point that the product life cycles are becoming shorter and shorter because of the product proliferation. Yeah. And all of this is leading to pricing pressure. Whatever may be the industry, yeah, because you have so much proliferation, which is happening because of competitors emerging and because of proliferation, the life cycles are shrinking. There is a great pressure on pricing across industries. Yeah. So some common shifts that 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 we observe across industries and digital age, and each one of them, I'm sharing this slide because it can spur a lot of thoughts from an entrepreneurial perspective. And the final slide I want to share, which is on the third building block, which is digital technologies. Now, the key point, this is something which I've tried to simplify, that, when you think about a digital stack, what does it look like? Of course, the starting point is the experience design, or what we often call UI, UX, user interface, user experience. That is driven a lot by analytics. Yeah, that the personalization of the experience is driven by analytics. Yeah, and then there is the entire operations layer. Yeah, automation of your existing operations. All of this is getting enabled by artificial intelligence. And then the key kind of anchor of this, the pillar of all of this, is data. Yeah, it is really the fulcrum of the digital technology stack. And then there are two core infrastructure capabilities: cloud. Cloud started as infrastructure, but the scope and definition of cloud has been rising very steadily, almost on a monthly basis. What cloud means has been growing. Yeah. And companies like AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google, they are doing this. They are really, they are marching at a tremendous pace. And then blockchain, it's still, I would say, relatively nascent, but it's a very disruptive technology. It will take more time, but when it reaches this tipping point, it will have a very disruptive impact. So this is a picture of the digital stack, something which many of you here would be aware of. Now, the key point really I wanted to make to you, for you to take away, is that these digital technologies are not independent. Yeah, they are all connected, and the real power of the digital stack comes when these are working well in synchronization. Yeah, there is no point putting great artificial intelligence technology, making a lot of investments there, if your core data is not available. All of these have to come together. So the analogy is, think of an orchestra, of a music orchestra. Each of the individual players are like these elements of the tech stack. They have to be individually very good, but if they don't play well together, then you only get very jarring music, which is the problem that happens in a lot of companies. Yeah, that they make individual siloed pieces of tech investment, but they're not tied in together. Yeah, so in a short period of time, I have tried to share a lot of concepts. There are these 7 building blocks. I have tried to give you a glimpse into the first 3 building blocks, which is around the new rules of business, around industry maturity curves, and digital technologies. Let me pause here, and Stephen, if there are more questions, would love to answer them.
Fantastic, Nitin. Thank you so much for all of that insightful information. I think it is very important for everybody to be able to see, as you well express that in the book, that digital transformation goes beyond technology, goes beyond what is happening at a certain place or a certain business unit within the business and within the sector. So I really appreciate that. And I think we're running out of time, and we are definitely grateful to have you here, and we'll love to have you back in the future, whether in a webinar like this or at the institution where you can be part of our digital transformation program. As a guest, we will be very happy to have you. And I guess I just want to conclude with the fact that definitely recommend to read your book because it's as I mentioned, it's very insightful, very easy to read, and there's a lot of insights that we can definitely apply, whether if we're in Costa Rica, in United States, or in India. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I just want to invite everybody who is watching us to also take a look at the digital transformation program that we have at the university, where you can learn a little bit of what Nitin has taught us today. So thank you so much, Nitin.
No, my pleasure, Stephen, interacting with you and with all the students. I hope this conversation was helpful. And as a company in CEDO, we are very keen to explore Costa Rica, and certainly something which is very much part of our strategy, part of our radar. So I hope to be down there soon over the next couple of months, and certainly look forward to more interaction and more collaboration with the university.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye for now.